Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, Chapter 11, entitled The Childhood Pastimes of Krishna. Text 55. Aho batasya balasya bahavo mrityavo bhavan bahavo mrityavo bhavan apyasid vipriyam tesham apyasid vipriyam tesham kritam purvam yato bhayam kritam purvam yato bhayam aho batasya balasya bahavo mrityavo bhavan apyasid vipriyam tesham kritam purvam yato bhayam aho batasya balasya bahavo mrityavo bhavan apyasid vipriyam tesham kritam purvam yato bhayam Mataji. Aho batasya balasya bhavo bhavan apyasid vipriyam tesham yato bhayam. Aho bata, it is very astonishing. Asya, of this, balasya, Krishna, bahavaha, many, mrityavaha, causes of death, abhavan, appeared, api, still, asit, there was, vipriyam, the cause of death, tesham, of them, kritam, done, purvam, formerly, yataha, from which bhayam, there was fear of death. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, began to contemplate. It's very astonishing that although this boy Krishna has many times faced many varied causes of death, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it was these causes of fear that were killed instead of him. Purport: the cowherd men innocently thought, because our Krishna is innocent, the causes of death that appeared before him were themselves killed instead of Krishna. This is the greatest grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanmida. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute De Namami Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ahobatasya balasya bahavo mrutyavo bhavan apyasid vipriyam desham kritam purvam yato bhayam. The cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, began to contemplate. It's very astonishing that although this boy Krishna has many times faced many varied causes of death, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it was these causes of fear that were killed instead of him. Hare Krishna. So in this particular pastime where practically Krishna is finished because Bakasur swallows him. That's it. Krishna is gone. And Balaram and all the cowherd boys, Shunyaitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahiname. For them, practically their life was Krishna. And when they saw Krishna being just gulped by Bakasur, life had no meaning, so just they fainted. Did they not know Krishna's power? They knew, still they were fearful. Just as Mother Devaki and Vasudeva, when Krishna appeared as the 8th son within the prison house of Kamsa, they are praying to him, "You are the Supreme Lord, you remove all fear, and you are the powerful controller, whatever you desire, everything happens. Sitri Satyam." And at the end of it, they are telling, "But we are fearful, Kamsa will come, please. Take your origin, take a child form so that we can hide you." And Prabhupada makes a beautiful statement. Ayam tu asabhya. Because this uncivilized Kamsa, you can't predict this person, what he will come and do. And we have seen his atrocities. How shameless he is. How cruel and hard-hearted he is. He can go to any extent. He has no civilized behavior. This person can do anything, and he is actually powerful. He can do anything, and he is supremely powerful from a material point of view. Therefore, Vasudeva and Devaki, out of affection for Krishna, are actually fearful. Seems like a contradiction. They are praying to Krishna, and Krishna Surya Samamaya. Once Krishna is in front of you, what's there to fear? Devotees are completely fearless. But simultaneously, there is a fear. All contradictions are resolved in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada writes, an uncivilized man can do anything for the satisfaction of his senses. Anything. What to speak if that person is really given all the powers. Can kill children, can kill women, cows, old men, brahmanas, or anyone. Prabhupada, in that purport, this is 3rd chapter, 22nd verse, where Vasudeva and Devaki are making the prayers. He says, in Mumbai, the Hare Krishna lands, Kirtan was described as nuisance. How can these people call it, And there, in the end, he writes, though it is sure that no one can stop this movement, as it is non-different from Krishna, still we are scared that it can be stopped at any moment by the asuras in any part of the world. So, it is a fact Mahaprabhu has expressed. Prithivite achitata nagaradigram sarvatra prachar hoy bimurna. It will happen. If nobody else does it, he'll do it himself. He'll get someone to do it. But at the same time, we see Bhagavad Gita being banned someplace and seeing as a very literature which is promoting aggressiveness and so many whatever. In other places, public demonstration of all these rituals are banned. What to speak of elsewhere, even within this own so-called secular country, because of lack of a proper understanding of true Vedic culture, the leaders, firstly they can do anything for their sense satisfaction or for their selfish interest, and then they are having power. And because of that, it will be very difficult. Krishna Prabhupada writes, Krishna has appeared in the Hare Krishna movement. So this movement can be endangered. Temporarily, of course, Krishna eventually, Satyameva, ultimately, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho, Tatra Shri Vijaya. That's there. But in the meantime, so many people on a large scale may not have access to that. To that extent, it is covered over, to that extent. And what an amount of difficulty that Vasudeva and Devaki had to undergo to give Krishna birth, and not that after he was born everything was. After that also, immediately anxiety. In fact, more anxiety after he was born. Before birth, so much anxiety, so much of sacrifice, so much of trouble. Whole trouble started as soon as this voice came that Krishna is going to come. That's it. That is the beginning of all problems. The moment we decide to give birth to Krishna in our heart, be sure things are not going to be very goody and very smooth and nice. What all Vasudeva and Devaki had to undergo, what all they had to see, what all they had to feel, what all they had to experience till Krishna was born. And it's not that it was just, and Krishna came and they lived happily ever after. As soon as Krishna came, still, then he had to be carried and children in chains, and then an anxiety. And then Kamsa became even more ferocious, even more inimical. First he was thinking, I'll kill that rascal as soon as he's born. But then he realized, hey, this guy is really smart. This person, he just escaped. And one girl came and said, my hand, and she also goes up in the air and says, you fool, he's already elsewhere. She didn't give the address. All to facilitate, to show what extent people can go to protect their selfish interest. And similarly, on the other hand, how much a devotee is ready to take up anything and everything for Krishna's interest. Sacrificing personal self for Krishna's interest. So, that spirit of sacrifice is what is needed. In the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when the earth was sunk in the Garbhodaka ocean, and it has to be raised. Now, raising earth is not a small activity. When actually it was reported, Brahmaji had to have so many difficulties just to execute Krishna's order. Krishna has told him populate, and then he creates the first 4 children, and they say, sorry, we will be like this only. And he's angry, Rudra is created, and then he creates Manu, such a obedient son. Along with his wife, he comes in. Yes, Father, order us. And Brahmaji gives instruction. Please, I'm very happy that you are following my order, because I am following the order of Krishna. And you are assisting me in fulfilling that order, and therefore I'm very happy. You are blessed. And then he says, procreate. So that's all right, but give me a place. To practice our occupation, we need a place. Unless you have your own place, how can you practice what you want to practice? Very difficult to practice Krishna consciousness in a rented house. Especially when the owner is living next door and who gets up at 8:30 a.m. and you are inspired to chant and dance at 4 o'clock. Or you have a yajna and he starts coughing because too much of smoke is there. Or you have a lot of guests coming for a festival and they lick up the plates and throw it and then it dirties the whole thing. If you don't have your own place, you need a place where you can peacefully practice. It's a fact, otherwise it's very difficult. So a conducive atmosphere, that's what the Kshatriya's duty is, to provide a suitable place so that everyone can practice their respective duties in a very non-interfering, conducive atmosphere. So he says, give me a place. And he said, place is there, but it is gone inside. How to raise this up? Can't just call up something and lift a crane and, earth can't be done like that. It's not easy. Brahma is bewildered, confused, perplexed, the word, exact word used by Prabhupada, is perplexed. And he starts deeply taking shelter, using all his good intelligence, making his endeavor, and then praying to Krishna. Similarly, Vasudeva did his best, used all his intelligence, systematically. First he tried to bargain the cheapest way. Don't kill Baba. But this is not a good bargain for Kamsa. My life is at stake. Nothing do I have to kill. Okay. Think about your name and fame. Fame and fame, to hell with it. I want my life first of all. Where is the question of name and fame if life itself is not there? So Kamsa was too much focused on his part of the contract. So to think win-win, then he said, okay, think about, future, that, nothing worked. Then he said, all right, the problem is with the child, right? Not Devaki. Oh, why are you killing her? I will hand you over. So he did his best, used his best intelligence, all intelligence, till its limit. Really went to the limit. And then he was depending. He didn't know. When the eighth son is born, what will happen? When the first child is given, what will happen? I don't know. But I have done my best for Krishna's interest. And now it's up to Krishna. I let him do. And he was just watching the miracle happening. He did his best and simply watched Krishna's amazing mercy manifesting. So similarly, Brahma was also in a similar situation. He was doing his best. He was trying to think. He has 4 brains. And not ordinary. His body is made of intelligence. Every part of his body is intelligence personified. And he's putting his full intelligence to understand, and he wasn't able to understand. And Prabhupada uses a very beautiful, small purport. He said, devotees are perplexed, but they are never discouraged. They are perplexed sometimes, how to deal with this situation, how to handle this. And they do their best, but they are never discouraged because they have faith. We get discouraged if we think we are the doers. But we will never get discouraged if we know Krishna is the doer. Let me play my part perfectly. Then it's up to Krishna, up to him. Ultimately, thy will be done. If he wants to allow something, what can we do? So he was thinking. And from the least expected place, from his nostril, solution came. In the form of Varahadev. Prabhupada explains in the purport very beautifully. He says, Krishna gave the Vedas in the form of his breath. Vedas are nothing but in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad it is said that it is breath of the Supreme Lord. And he breathed in. That was his life-giving. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavi. He accepted that. And when he needed the most, through his breath, again the Vedas manifested. Personified Vedas, personified Yajna. He's called Yajna Murti. Actually, Yajno Vai Vishnu. The whole body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Yajna. He is the Bhokta, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam. And he lifted the earth. And simultaneously, another time, he killed Hiranyaksha. Hiranyaksha was a greedy person. He just wanted everything for himself. Everything for himself. Dig and keep for myself. And that's how the earth fell into a very degraded situation. Then came the Yajna Murti, establishing how the position of the earth can be raised. Only through the process of Yajna. Yajnarthat karmana anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. So, the process of Yajna, sacrifice, and sacrifice itself means gradually the self-interest is given up for Krishna's interest. So these are two extremes. Pure Krishna consciousness means exclusively Krishna's interest is the focus. And the whole opposite of that, a demonic mentality, is self-interest and different shades in between. And that's the whole progress. From that situation of absolute Ishvaroham, Aham Bhogi, from that platform to, completely being the servant of the servant of the servant is a long journey. Is a long journey. And to carry forward everyone in that journey is not easy. In the spirit of sacrifice, most of the times it is a very natural and gradual movement from that spot to this spot. Totally in Mahamaya to completely under Yoga Maya. It's a long path. And there is a natural and gradual, and therefore it is very broad. Different slokas for different folks. So if you see the Gita, Krishna is so accommodative. From this level to this level, everyone can come in. Now Gita, is it an exclusive scripture or is it inclusive? If you pick up one part, it is exclusive. Mam ekam sharanam braja. Nothing else. Mam eva ye prapadyante. No one else. It looks like exclusive. But another place, he said, this kind of people worship these devatas. Don't disturb them. I put their faith. Simultaneously they are less intelligent. But don't try to act on an elevated platform, Arjun. I know you're telling that you'll go and beg. But if you beg and someone does not give you, you'll pick up a sword because you are a Kshatriya. You can't tolerate insult. So right now, use that propensity in the right place. Gradually, naturally, when you get purified, then you give up everything. Now if you give up and go, even if you say that you are a pure devotee, and you are doing exclusively out of compassion, still, loka sangraha, saktaha karmani avidvanso yatha kurvanti bharata, kuryad vidvans atha asaktaha chikirshu loka sangraham. People need an example, a role model of how to be in the world but not become of the world. If you think you are very exalted, still as a Kshatriya, if you may do it for the right reason, you may come out of the battle thinking you are compassionate. Others will also justify. But they will be doing it out of cowardliness. They may be out of laziness to perform their duty, or out of whatever be the reason, or some other reason except for the right reason. And they will quote you. So, there is karma yoga, then there is dhyana yoga, then there is ashtanga yoga, then there is bhakti yoga. So, it is all inclusive and simultaneously very exclusive. If you just take one part, if you take all inclusive part and not the exclusivity, we become diluted, compromised, and hodgepodge. But if you simply take another extreme, only exclusive, then we may be perceived many times as very fanatic, as very kind of a holier than thou attitude. Everyone is a rascal, which may be a fact, but still, to call them that, do we have that kind of purity? We may have the highest philosophy, but just because we have the highest philosophy, it's not that we are the highest position, at least. It is so easy to quote such high exalted Mama Janmani Janmani Ishware Ashli Seva Padaratam Pinashtumam. Sounds great. But then to live up to that is not easy. As Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, ISKCON devotees should stop thinking that they are gifts of God to mankind. That just because I have the highest philosophy, but sometimes even in our basic dealings, our nature comes out. The first time I heard that beggar should not be given any money. Correct. Thank you for a philosophy. Now I have Krishna's shoulder to keep my gun on and shoot. I always wanted not to give money, but I didn't have a good excuse. And my guilt, my heart would pain. And now I have a good excuse. Beggars should not be given money because they misuse it. So sometimes we speak high philosophy, but we are not even human beings. Nowadays, there one very nice T-shirt has come. Being human. I think at least I should wear that T-shirt. At least inside my kurta. To remind myself, I am a human being, but am I being human? We can become so hard-hearted. Good excuse we get not to spend money. No, we should not perform this ceremony, that ceremony, that ceremony. Why? All this is karma kand. So what will you do? I'll continue my son's gratification and chant Hare Krishna in between. Potentially, it's not that everyone is like that, but it can happen to justify and be on that kind of a platform. So Krishna simultaneously all levels he is able to accommodate. In the 12th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, text 8, 9, 10, I would like to just read. The first, what is his calling? He says, highest, but the best thing that you can do, just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. Kirtaniya sada harihi, satadam kirtayantoma. So nice, isn't it? Smartavya satadam Vishnu. But Prabhuji, ठीक है, practically कुछ बोलिए ना. What about me? My dear Arjun, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of bhakti-yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. At least have a desire. It is because of the wrong desire we came here. It is because of wrong desire we are rotting here. And at least by right desire, at least we will begin to travel the right path. Even if there is a strong desire, I wish one day I could be like that. How I wish. Kobe hobe bolo সেই দিন আমার, কবে গৌরবনে সুরধুনি তটে হা রাধে হা কৃষ্ণ বলে. And of course, desiring is not make ourselves deserving. Simply desiring. Every MP wants to be a PM. But then all MPs can't become PM. Somebody is he makes himself deserving by doing some right work. So simply desiring is not enough. Desiring means, what are you doing to make yourself deserving to fulfill that desire? Our action speaks more stronger about what our desires are. Krishna sees, and even if some situation you are not able to do the right action, intention, at least the right intention, and Krishna reciprocates. But you may say, our situation is not so favorable as yet. So then he says, if you cannot practice the regulations of bhakti yoga, then just try to work for me. Because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. How much broad-minded, accommodative, inclusive is Krishna's compassion? It doesn't matter wherever you are. Get in the bus and start moving ahead. Jump in and there is place. No problem. And gradually move ahead. Prabhupada writes in the purport, one who is not able even to practice the regulative principles of bhakti yoga under the guidance of a spiritual master can still be drawn to this perfectional stage by working for the Supreme Lord. How to do this work has already been explained in the 55th verse of the 11th chapter. One should be sympathetic to the propagation of Krishna consciousness. There are many devotees who are engaged in the propagation of Krishna consciousness and they require help. So even if one cannot directly practice the regulative principles of bhakti yoga, he can try to help such work. Every endeavor requires land, capital, organization and labor. Just as in business, one requires a place to stay, some capital to use, some labor and some organization to expand. And so the same is required in the service of Krishna. The only difference is that in the materialism, one works for sense gratification. The same work, however, can be performed for the satisfaction of Krishna, and that is spiritual activity. In the so to be able to get the largest population somehow or other connected to Krishna consciousness is actually the desire of the Lord, and that's why he comes. Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. And gives everyone an opportunity. Ye yathamam prapadyante tam sataiva. According to however they are, is reciprocating, relating and connecting. So that is the reason why Krishna consciousness or Vedic culture has survived in spite of so many danger of being finished. Practically gulped, again came out. Gulped and came out. So many endeavors to finish it from the root to destroy this culture. Either physical aggressiveness or very intellectually trying to remove the faith in that whole process. So many endeavors. Literally it was gulped and covered over. But again it has come up. It's come up by those who understand the full spectrum of what it actually is, knowing in essence, and then know what to emphasize when. When we have an opulence, everyone knows about God, then you can discuss God is impersonal or personal and move them towards, more and more advanced. But if a person is questioning whether does God exist or not, then discussing about that, first of all at least believe, do you believe God is there? Then we will discuss further. Prabhupada had that amazing ability. He would catch them at their level and he would fix, first tell me this. No, let's talk about that later. First tell me this. You would know what their level are just by, expert knows just by one grain he touches and know what the sack is. 100 kilo sack of rice, but he just tastes few grains. Or when you're cooking, you just take few grains and say, कच्चा है अभी, पका नहीं. नहीं पका है, कुछ नहीं, ऐसे ही है. So just by one or two answers, he would know. And he would just put a challenge. So, what do you think? And he had to reply. And he won't accept. No, what do you think about this? What I made a statement, is that all right? And then he would judge where it is. And then he won't speak about that. To one lady he said, first talk about this, talk about philosophy later. Philosophy without these kind of basic applications. What is the use of that high level of philosophy? Let's talk about the basics. Do you believe God exists? No. Acha, where is this? Behind the creation there is a creator? If that itself is doubtful. So, knowing what exactly to emphasize to get maximum number of people on board and somehow or other engaging. I was just going through Chaitanya Shikshamrit by Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur. And he talks about how to be a human being first. Vaishnava is very high stuff. How to be even a human being. And a Vaishnava is just like if you are a PhD, hopefully you have done your schooling and graduation, hopefully. But if some person is put directly in the PhD class, and you say, everyone should directly join PhD, why waste time so much, 13 years for all this education? Not possible because people are at different levels. So he talks about there are so many secondary rules. There are primary. Of course, bhakti is the highest. That's primary. But then there are some secondary which are more conducive and favorable foundation so that bhakti in the heart can be retained for a longer time and really be maturely practiced. To be steadfast in bhakti, individually and collectively, unless it is founded on some strong basic principles, it will be difficult to hold it, or it may be perceived as hypocrisy or even fanatic at some time. So, it explains very nicely. The first section explains bhakti, which is the abhidheya, the only means to attain prema. It is also shown that karma and jnana are not direct means to attain prema. Karma and jnana, they are not direct means to attain prema. Although they have a role to play. Karma and jnana may be designated as secondary means, whereas hearing and chanting are primary means. Although secondary, they may be called the means for those jivas deeply bound by Maya. For them that is the means. For those who have achieved a higher level, that's a secondary means. But for others that may be the primary means right now. Also, jnana and karma are secondary means and bhakti is the principal means. Jnana and karma help in the process of bhakti and bhakti produces prema. The relationship will be discussed later. In as much as karma and jnana can make the body, mind and environment favorable for bhakti, they can be accepted as means. Otherwise, they are condemned in the scriptures as materialistic endeavors. So, if they are supportive to eventually bring a person to bhakti, that is very good. It's like you are on a 14th floor and you are telling, ऊपर आजा, steps किधर है? अरे step छोड़, ऊपर आजा. मैं हूं ना इधर. ठीक है प्रभु जी, पर लिफ्ट किधर है, स्टेयरकेस किधर है? Come on, fallen person, get up. Somehow somebody has been mercifully pulled us up. That's not our qualification. Somehow we have come to that 14th floor. You can't look down upon and say something like that. The secondary rules are of three types. Rules regarding the self, rules regarding the society, and rules regarding the afterlife. Rules regarding the self are of two categories. Those for the body and those for the mind. Sometimes we experience, we may have a wonderful philosophy and we may have so many things to do, but body is not supporting and the mind is going crazy. Those rules to keep a person's body properly nourished so that they can remain healthy are the bodily rules. Such things as regulated drinking, eating, sleeping, exercise, and for sickness suitable prescription for cure are bodily rules. If people do not follow these rules, they cannot pass through life smoothly. If they do not follow the mental rules, their power of realization, concentration, imagination, contemplation, and judgment will be weak and will not properly function. We talk of world peace, but there is domestic warfare. So, wonderful philosophy, all first tangible, but certain basic things are missing. There will be no advancement in arts and sciences. Moreover, one will not be able to take the mind from material thoughts and direct it to thought of God. As a result, sinful thoughts and an atheistic attitude will dominate the mind. Finally, a person will become no better than a beast. Therefore, these bodily and mental rules are very necessary for success in human life. Humanity lives together as society. There are certain social rules prescribed for the elevation of the populace and avoidance of criminal mentality. It's a long thing, I don't go, but the tendency towards social stability is a dominant characteristic of the human species. It is visible in all human races. As a society or civilization advances, one will find a greater degree of rules for social stability. In an animal society, no problem. Might is right. But as the society advances, the rules are also very high. Even small rules are strictly followed. Therefore, there is a higher degree of subtle activities can be done. So, we are talking about the subtlest subject matter, but even basic gross rules are not followed. People will not be inspired by the message. Prabhupada was once coming and Prabhupada used to quote this. Even in postgraduate examinations, there are police standing and people standing to make sure that they don't copy. They are postgraduate students. What is the use of education? Now they are wild, sophisticated animals. They know sophisticated way of cheating. Therefore, sophisticated people have to stand guard to make sure that they don't break the rules. What is the use of education? If that much trust is not there, that this person will not do these things. So sometimes you see that, though our philosophy is very high, but sometimes in small things, people see that, then they'll say, all right, philosophy makes sense. Maybe someday I will follow it. It's good. But people majority may not be inspired. As a society or civilization advances, one will find a greater degree of rules for social stability. There is consensus that amongst all civilization, the Arya race was the most advanced in social organization. There were many branches and sub-branches of the Arya race, but there can be no doubt that among the Aryas, the people of Bharata were the most advanced in knowledge, intelligence and social organization. One should not lose respect for the Aryan civilization just because with age it has become weak and dependent on other cultures. Simply because some ignorant person dispute the previously advanced state of the Aryan civilization does not mean that such a civilization loses its importance. If one reads the Dharma Shastra, one can understand the high degree that the Aryan civilization of Bharata achieved in the implementation of social rules. In fact, all serious thoughtful men must accept that this civilization, through the guidance of sages, achieved the highest state of social regulation in the world. Can you imagine? In war, during war, when people are ready to do anything, the rule is, conch shell, stop. And let us not fight in the city, we'll go somewhere and fight. Because fight is amongst us. Why unnecessarily civilians should be? Even war was fought on dharma, principles. That's unimaginable. Only soldiers would fight, not that all men, women, children, right in the middle of the city, anyone throwing anything from anywhere. This is absolutely animalistic. So in war there were so many rules where people are, really lose their temper. Even there, you can't shoot that arrow to this person, unless they are equals. Who doesn't have a bow? Okay, take this bow. Ready? तैयार? सोच ले. तैयार है ना? बाद में मत बोलना. अरे उधर देख रहा था तूने मार दिया. ठीक है. And not only that, giving each other time for warming up. ठीक है? आज तुझे यमराज के घर भेजो. Today I'm going to send you to the home of death. You today vultures will eat. Even there was sanity of language. Not third class language. Even though they were fighting such a civilized war. Unimaginable. Unimaginable. Who can ever understand this kind of culture that existed? And it's amazing how Prabhupada has brought that culture alive even in this age. Speaking with full realization and maturity and making it relevant according to time, place and circumstance. So we have to understand these discussions when they went on in the previous ages, what was their basic lifestyle under which these kind of philosophy were discussed. Of course, Mahaprabhu's mercy that he has given us. I would just like to read about meritorious action, punya karma. For those who are already kind of doing these kind of things, when they take up devotion, it becomes natural and easier to practice, and they can practice it for a longer time, for a whole lifetime. But if we don't have the basic human characteristics and think that only bhakti, it's a fact. It is a fact that bhakti is so powerful that it can purify us. Bhakti is powerful, but are we practicing bhakti powerfully? Tivrena bhakti yogena. Holy name has the power to change. That's no doubt about it. Chanted attentively, inoffensively, faithfully. But do we have that faith? Do we have that attention that we have? But just because we are chanting, we think already we are on that platform, Golok Vrindavan is just, I'm just cross this place and I will, if I trip, if I will fall into Golok Vrindavan. Well, certain basic etiquettes of human beings are sometimes not seen in us. For example, in all the punya karma and varnashram activities, there is the factor of the practitioner's faith, which may be tamasika, rajasika or sattvika. That faith may be inclined either toward enjoyment of the world or towards renunciation of the world. Those on the lowest stage are inclined to worldly enjoyment. Those slightly more advanced are inclined both ways. Those most advanced dedicate themselves to renunciation of the world. Although there are provisions for worshipping numerous devatas, the sattvika person worship only Bhagavan. Or as Vaishnavas have no motive for sense gratification, they accept only those actions that lead to the spiritual goal. In the Gita, Krishna has said that the wise should accept only those actions favorable to devotion and reject those that are unfavorable to devotion. So, I would just like to read just small things. These are punya karmas, but these punya karmas should be by default present in a Vaishnava. But then, once he is more on bhakti, the more and more bhakti activity starts, then punya karmas, those which are unfavorable, they are moved aside, and those which are favorable are purified. That's how from karma kanda a person moves to bhakti. I would like to read that section. Although varnashram dharma is somewhat time consuming, it must be followed as an assistant to bhakti. This is an assistant to bhakti. All these varnashram rules and regulations, from the womb to the tomb, so many rules and regulations. But all these are assistant to bhakti. Yet, concordant with the cultivation of bhakti, the consumption of time by the purely varnashram dharma practices will naturally decrease. Once your bhakti activity increases, actually one should try to do all those rules plus bhakti. And gradually, when you absolutely feel that either this or that, then when the bhakti increases, that should gradually move the varnashram rules away. Otherwise, generally for us, bhakti, and if not bhakti, full sense gratification. No, it's a life of tapasya. Tapo divyam putraka. You have to follow all the rules of varnashram. Furthermore, by the development of bhakti, the various duties of varnashram dharma will transform into devotional activities. Earlier it was a ritualistic thing we were doing, as a pious thing, as we were taught by our elders. Now there is devotion element added in that. And there is a clarity of understanding. Earlier any demigod temple we just bow down, go there. Now we may do it with a clear understanding. Oh, this is so and so. He's doing such a great service to humanity by giving shelter about these things. Understanding is there. And then gradually those things which are unfavorable, like certain kind of sacrifices of animals, are unnatural, unfavorable. That is rejected. Some activities that are, serving the elders and this and that. First, a person should practice the 5 types of devotional activities to the utmost, as directed by Sri Chaitanya, while simultaneously being meticulous to the observance of his varnashram duties. Certain basic times, sometimes we go for program and why didn't you come? What to do, Prabhuji? Guest had come home, this person had come, and that one. It's a fact. Those who are really, really responsible, they feel somebody has come home, how can we leave? That's a dilemma. And we are told, it can be done in a fanatic way also. You say, chhod sab kuch, bhakti is everything. That's one thing. You may come and then, people in the whole, those who are kind of cultured society, they say, what is this fanatically is doing so much? They are concerned sometimes. So sometimes it can be used as a convenience to do what we want to do. I'm not proposing that is wrong or right, but what I'm trying to, the spirit of that, what I'm trying to say is, it's a responsible life, and once the responsibility increases, then the lower responsibilities are very nicely, the spirit of the system must be understood. Earlier we were doing it ritualistically. We didn't even know why we are doing, to whom we should do what kind of guest should be entertained, how long, what way. When is it an impediment to devotion? Or when is it favorable? And that is understood only when you understand the spirit of the system. So that's what is being explained. First, a person should practice the 5 types of devotional activities. That means, what are the 5 activities? Chanting the holy name, worshipping the deities, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, things like that. They must be. These 5 are the most powerful ingredients. And because we are in Kali Yuga, lifespan is short, and we have to use the powerful medicine, When we are more sick, we have to use very strong medicine. So therefore, out of the 64 anga, these 5 angas are very powerful, and they must be taken shelter of regularly. And as directed by Sri Chaitanya, while simultaneously being meticulous in the observance of his varnashram duties, which may take up much time. However, as he progresses in bhakti, the person should gradually reject those varnashram duties that are against the devotional principles. Finally, being purified by bhakti, the remaining varnashram duties will become the servants of sadhana bhakti. By acting in this way, there will be no conflict between the duties of varnashram and bhakti. By the cultivation of bhakti, the life of a brahmana and the life of a shudra, both purified by bhakti, become equalized. The shudra being illumined by his state of servitude to the Lord and to the devotees, becomes equal to the selfless brahmana. In this way, the purity of Vaishnava brotherhood will mutually enlighten the lives of all the 4 varnas to such an extent that the world will be seen to be Vaikuntha. By removal of the obstacles arising from identification with the body, the real equality of all souls is possible. For example, I would like to read, as the varnashram, certain basic, being human. There are 10 kinds of punya. Punya means prescribed duty. These are must expected. Assistance to the others, service to elders, charity, serving guests, cultivation of cleanliness, celebration of festivals, performance of vows, protection of animals, increase of population, and proper conduct. I'll not go into all, otherwise it will be seminar on varnashram dharma. But I'll just lead this part just to understand what is the spirit. Assistance to the needy. Assistance to others is of 2 kinds. Relieving others of distress and helping others make progress. Suffering is there, remove, and ignorance is there, elevate them. Bring them to a higher state. That is the assistance to the needy. A person should help others as much as possible without distinguishing whether they are relatives or not. The same distress that befalls us also comes to others. When people are in difficulty, they think that others should give them relief. Thus, people should try to relieve the distress of others as if it were their own. They must attempt to relieve distress by putting aside self-interest, which may obstruct giving assistance. They should try to remove other people's bodily, mental, social, and spiritual difficulties. Examples of bodily distress are sickness and hunger. Examples of mental distress are anxiety, envy, lamentation, and fear. Examples of social distress are an inability to support the family, an inability to give education to children, an inability to get them married, and a lack of resource for cremation. Examples of spiritual distress are a lack of faith, atheism, and the desire for sinful acts. Just as one must relieve a person of distress, one should also try to elevate them. One should help people progress physically, mentally, socially and spiritually by offering monetary, physical and verbal assistance and by engaging the relatives of the needy person as well. These are basic, that Prabhupada said, my followers are recognized by the fact that they are first class gentlemen. Gentleman means this basically. They are human beings. Charity, this is the principle. Of course this is punya. But with understanding of essence of this and the essence of devotion, it has to be balanced. Dana or charity refers to giving money or materials to a suitable person. Giving to an undeserving person is a worthless expense and is considered papa. There are 12 varieties of charity. Giving water by digging wells, planting trees to give shade and air, supplying lights, dispensing medicine, giving education, giving food, building road, building bathing places on rivers, lakes, building houses, giving necessary articles, giving the first portion of a meal and giving a daughter in marriage. Water should be given to those who are thirsty. If a thirsty person comes to one's house, one is obliged to offer drinking water. Thus, digging wells and ponds for drinking water after selecting a suitable place is an act of punya, beneficial for others. Whenever water is necessary, wherever, for instance, at holy tirthas, if there are no rivers or bodies of water, then wells should be dug. I mean, this is sensitivity. Sensitivity. Mere sensitivity can become sentimentality also, without knowledge, philosophy and understanding of the spirit. Otherwise you will end up digging wells and to the exclusion of practicing Krishna consciousness. So there sometimes Acharya comes and bangs our head and says, nonsense, just don't get absorbed only in philanthropic work. Foolish. It's a fact. If a man is drowning, you pick up his dress and only allow him to drown. That's not appropriate. In giving medical relief, a person should go to the homes of the sick and distribute medicine, or can have the sick person come to a dispensary and receive free medicine. A person should perform this punya with sincerity. Students may be given education at one's house, or one may then be sent to public schools, paying from one's personal funds. Educating children properly is a very important service. The giving of food is of two kinds. The hungry may be fed at one's home or at a designated place. Public food distribution for the poor may be performed. Roads should be constructed to places difficult to approach or to inaccessible places. These are, anyone who is seeing that everyone is having a difficulty, so somebody does that. So many. But I'll just like to highlight a few things. Conduct and one's conduct. The following are parts of righteous conduct: forgiveness, gratitude, truthfulness, honesty, not stealing, not accepting from others, mercy, detachment, respect for the scriptures, travel to holy places, proper judgment, courtesy, worship of Lord, and being steadily situated in work according to ability. For example, what is forgiveness or tolerance? Giving up the desire to punish a person for committing an offense is called forgiveness or tolerance. It is not wrong to punish offenders, but forgiveness is an even higher principle. Prahlad and Haridas Thakur forgave their enemies. Now as great examples of this principle of forgiveness, they are worshipped by all. What is gratitude? To recognize the help that another person has given is called gratitude. In the Aryan civilization, there is such gratitude that the children would serve the parents as long as they lived. And when the parents died, they would undergo periods of austere restriction known as ashaucha, where they would constrain sleeping and eating and would observe the Shraddha ceremonies by giving food to others. Thus, to express their gratitude to their parents, They would yearly offer Shraddha and Tarpana to show gratitude to all people is a punya karma. So these are certain basic etiquettes. Now, again, therefore we need a guru to tell us, when is that activity an obstacle? And it is sentimental, or is it? And how we need to understand the spirit and then build on it, just like Chanakya Niti has given some Niti Shastra. Niti is morality. And what is morality? Basically so that my sense gratification doesn't stop. Your sense gratification should continue, my sense gratification should. My sense gratification should not stop yours or obstruct yours. Therefore, there are some moral rules. What is that? For example, road rules. Traffic rule. If given to themselves, everyone would just see one time if the traffic light is not there and the signal is not there. Everyone wants to just put their vehicle wherever there is. Sometimes the rickshaw, the first wheel goes, the second two wheels come or not, they don't think. And then hours they are standing together. First you move, no, let me go first, then you come. Animalistic. So therefore moral, stick to the left. So that you will reach safely, others will also go timely. These are moral rules, they are not absolute rules. The moral rules are meant for some kind of peaceful existence. I clean my house and the whole dustbin I dump in neighbor's compound. Then somebody says, let's put in a common place. This is the corporation dustbin. All should throw in the dustbin only. This has to be told. Hopefully in a civilized society they will put that. So these are moral codes. Moral codes means each one's sense gratification will not stop. No war. Why? Because I don't like it. So many people getting killed and all that, so much expenses. That's good. But sometimes it is essential for the sake of dharma. So all these are certain kind of rules. These principles must be actually understood. A person should show their power of discrimination properly. The person who does not consider questions such as, what is the world? Who am I? Who created the world? What is my duty in life? What shall I achieve? Is to be considered as a human being. Purushartha. It's amazing. No other scriptures in the world has this concept of Purushartha. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. In Kannada, I don't know. If you say, I want to do this, yen Purushartha? They ask, क्या मिलेगा इसमें? पुरुषार्थ क्या मिलेगा तुझे? बड़ा काम कर रहा है, इतना टाइम पास कर रहा है, इतना एनर्जी डाल रहा है. What is the purushartha? What is the benefit? Are you moving towards the goal? Are you moving towards the goal or not? That's the sense of discrimination. If the main road is blocked, you take a detour. Detour is not to go away somewhere. As soon as the block is over, again come back to the main road. So the goal should never be lost. Otherwise we eventually become compromised. Proper respect, courtesy is another punya. Showing courtesy. Proper respect should be given considering the person's status. This is called maryada. Not giving proper respect is considered a great fault. A person should give respect to all human beings, but should give more respect to a person with position. Most respect should be given to the Brahmana and the Vaishnava. The following is the correct order: respect to humans, respect to those who are civilized, respect to a person in high position, such as the king, respect to the educated, that is the Pandita, respect to person with good qualities, respect according to Varna, especially the Brahmana, respect according to ashram, especially the sannyasi, and respect according to bhakti. So similarly, like that, there are these kind of principles are there, which was understood actually in Vedic culture. But nowadays it is completely lost. And so, even though one may come to bhakti and it's a fact that bhakti can actually elevate us, but for large number of people to stay in bhakti for a long time, steadily, unless there is a solid foundation of deep understanding of the spirit and mature application of those principles, then it may not be appreciated by the larger section of society. But if this is there, it becomes attractive. It's very attractive to people. When they come in an environment where such civilized people are coming together and discussing such subtle and so sweet experience of one's natural constitutional position of bhakti, shravanam, kirtanam, who would ever want to leave such an association? But if that is there, but somewhere basic application is not there, then it becomes a chance to criticize. All that is all right, your philosophy is good, but I was there in the queue and they pushed me and he came in the front and he threw me off. So that puts off little people sometimes. So Ravindra Swarup Prabhu said, you advance and you become a temple leader and this and this and this and guru and whatever. Then you go up and then you become a human being. The point was that, sometimes we may be having a highest philosophy, and then no doubt, if this is there, Krishna will come, be born again, or come out of seemingly a situation where it looks like it's becoming finished, this movement is Hare Krishna movement. It's a movement. There should be movement. In the movement there is stability. If it does not move, it's like a evam pravartitam chakram. While speaking about sacrifice, yajna, principle of sacrifice, Krishna says evam pravartitam chakram. Annad bhavati bhutani parjanad annad yagyat bhavati parjanyo yagya karma samudbhava karma brahmavad brahmakshara samudbhavam. There's a chakra. And if this chakra is moving properly, like a cycle, for the cycle to be stable, it has to be moving. Unless they put the stand. But cycle is not meant to be on the stand alone. Cycle is meant to take you. So for the cycle to be stable, it has to move. If it does not move, it will unstable. And what is that movement? The movement is a spirit of sacrifice. It's like that example is given in 11th canto or something. I read that. A guru lives through his disciple. A guru, before he is finished, his full energy he sacrifices to put the seed, so that when he leaves, there are thousands of seeds. Just like a seed has to destroy itself in the ground before it creates a tree. If the seed says, no, I want to remain as it is, full, wholesome, then it can't give rise to another tree with so many seeds. So similarly, the spirit of sacrifice is, so many have sacrificed to give us this. We have to sacrifice to give it to others. And in this way, there is movement. And because there is movement, year after year there is stability. Krishna consciousness moves slowly. The spirit is kept alive. That is parampara. If the parampara is dynamic and active, because there is movement, there is stability. 100 years, 200 years down the line, still that same spirit is carried. But if some spirit is lacking, then the whole movement, there is no movement. So, this is the spirit of this chakra, evam pravartitam. Krishna has set it rolling. And we have to just, when it is already rolled, then you just have to hold the stick, So, sometimes Vrishabhanu Prabhu said when he was small, he used to play with that tire. Suppose you take a truck tire. It's very difficult for a child to roll. But if it's already rolling, he just has to keep the stick and keep pushing. When it is already rolling, it's easy to move it. But when it stops, to again lift it and to start is difficult. So a powerful personality has set it rolling. We just have to keep our sticks and keep moving it. Everything is ready-made and given. We have to take the trouble to go deeper, extract the spirit of it, and maintain the spirit alive. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Go Premanandi.